Welcome everyone back to the National Community Vision for Dallas and the National Day of Racial Healing. Again, my name is Jerry Hawkins. I wanted to share another preview for our 2020 Dallas Truth, Racial Healing and Transformation report. We previewed this in our last event in January. And I really want to just go over it again and share a little bit about what we've been talking about, which is expanding the view of our community history and expanding the knowledge of our community. We always begin our reports by sharing that Dallas is on stolen land. This is the land of the cattle, the Wichita and the Comanche, and that Dallas, it was built with stolen labor, that enslaved African people built what we know as Dallas County, and that we need to honor those folks and think about ways to repair the breach that was created by Dallas being on stolen land and built with stolen labor. We often talk about race in terms of black and white, and there's a reason for that. Right after 1841, we talked about this battle that was fought in Arlington, and what we know as Arlington, which was back then just on the banks of the Trinity River, as a cattle nation village. And General Tarrant and the white militia, which included folks like John Denton, who Denton County is named after, and John Reagan, whose Reagan County is named after, and John Neely Bryant, the so-called founder of Dallas, all participated in this massacre that they removed Native people out of North Texas, and that after that, the only people who lived in this county were those who were considered white and those who were considered black. A true racial binary, right? White settlers and enslaved Africans. But we know that Reconstruction changed a lot of things right after the Civil War. And one of the biggest changes was this cotton industry. Dallas was built on the backs of enslaved African people and also free black people who were working in this industry in cotton. And those industries started to grow the city of Dallas, and so we needed more people to come and work here, which brought us to Dallas being built with exploited labor, and that labor was on the backs of Latinx people, Mexican immigrants, and later immigrants from Central America and other countries, whose labor has been exploited since the end of the Mexican Revolution. And we want to detail some of the stories of those communities, communities that have been forgotten and erased, and that are being right now talked about by organizations like DMAL and other organizations who are trying to continue the legacies of the people and the communities that were there. If you see this map right now, this is by Dallas Mexican American Historical League. This is a map of Mexican American neighborhoods and barrios from 1900 to 1970. You can see, starting from the left, it included neighborhoods like Eagle Ford, Ledbetter, which we'll talk about shortly, Cemento Grande or Cement City, Bedford, Cemento Chico, communities that are still here like Los Altos, La Bajada, Los Lomos, even Exall Park, which is literally right out doorsteps from my house, El Pozo, City Park, Cadillac Heights, and especially El Barrio or Little Mexico. Little Mexico was literally where what we see now is Harwood or Victory Park on the west side of downtown Dallas and uptown Dallas. It's approximately thousands of people live there and thrive there. And there's still remnants of their existence and their beauty and their success. We need to remember and to continue to look up, the contributions of Little Mexico to Dallas. As you can see, a picture of a beautiful, thriving community celebrating Mexican Independence Day in Little Mexico. I love this picture because it shows just how many people were thriving and living in the midst of our city. Their stories often erased. And you can also see, beautiful picture of young women in St. Anne's, which is now a restaurant and located right in the heart of Little Mexico, where young girls would go and get a formal education. It's a beautiful place, and that artifact is still there. You can still see the building. It's also important that we talk about Pike Park, which was the center of culture of Little Mexico. Pike Park is now being, the recreational center has now been renamed the Santos Rodriguez Center at Pike Park. So we have talked about Santos Rodriguez forever. In the 1970s, he was a teenage boy who was accused of stealing, pulled out of his grandmother's house in the middle of the night by Officer Daryl Kane, who played Russian roulette with him and his little brother in the back of a police car, killed him. Daryl Kane became the first police officer in Dallas County history to be committed a murder. He was committed for, I think, was convicted of 5 years, only served maybe less than 2 years. But Santos Rodriguez's story ignited the Mexican American community here in Dallas, led to one of the largest uprisings we have ever seen in the city for days. And also, this Black-Brown coalition, which we also need to find out more history about. So Santos Rodriguez, and also the story of Cement City. Cement City families, primarily Mexican American, but also Black and white, built what we know as the bridges that crossed over Trinity River, and a lot of the infrastructure that we see in our city today. These pictures, which we can find on the website of DMALL, so visit DMALL's website and visit their emerging historians site and listen to their podcast. Is an amazing story of resilience, of communities fighting for the rights, not only for the living, but also for the dead. This is the grave site of the Cement City. There are rumors that there are people buried underneath AT&T, which is now in the way of this federally protected graveyard. So it's really important that we learn more about Cement City. There's also a video that you can check out called Cement City that was put on by Teatro Dallas. They had to halt the production of their play, but they have done a lot of work, and especially with DMALL, collecting the history of these stories of people from Cement City. So check out Teatro Dallas as well. I also want to that we should know Pancho Medrano. There's a school named after Pancho. Pancho was a organizer and a labor rights activist. Here he's pictured with Cesar Chavez. Pancho is very important to the history of Dallas. We need to learn more about Pancho. He's also a very celebrated athlete who worked on labor rights. Here he's pictured with A. Maceo Smith and other Black activists who were trying to abolish the poll tax. Pancho described himself as a Chicano. He wanted folks to know that he was born in Little Mexico, and that Dallas was his hometown, and that folks that look like him should have rights as anybody else. This is a picture of his school that is in my former neighborhood of Blackman Lake. Adolfo Callejo, who had fought for rights of every citizen, but particularly Mexican Americans in Dallas. She was a staunch supporter of civil rights. Here she's pictured with Domingo Garcia and Al Lipscomb and many other great folks who fought for not only voters' rights, but also redistricting. Here she pictured with Royce West. This is right before her death, and there's a statue in her honor, in a school that's also named after her. I actually taught at this school too, so we need to remember her name. And Anita Martinez, who was a former city councilwoman, the first Latina city councilwoman in Dallas, who also has a world-renowned Anita Martinez Ballet Folklorico. Definitely used their services before as an amazing cultural experience. The Dirty Dozen, a group that included Anita Martinez and Adolfo Callejo, Renee Martinez, and others, Latino people who fought for the rights of not only Mexican Americans, but everybody, particularly people of color. And then also Renee Martinez, who is still with us, who helped desegregate Dallas schools and led to the the construction of many magnet schools in the city of Dallas. Someone who you all need to look up. There's much more to learn. I wish we had more time, but we will be sharing copies of our 2020 report soon on our website, and we'll be sharing physical copies in our community partners, coffee shops like Union Coffee and Mocha and others. So look out for this coming up soon. I just first want to thank you all for being with us on this day of National Day of Racial Healing. Dallas TRHT thanks our staff. I want to thank Erica Flood-Moultrie, Stephanie Drinker, who has handled a lot of the production of this, our new staff, Marta and Imani, who excited to have you, and thank you for being with us. We want to thank our community partners for being with us. Thank Nicole Hannah-Jones again, Preeti Christel, Dr. Damian Thomas for being our guest. We invite you to continue to push the narratives of a more expansive Dallas. This is our work that we all have to do. There will be recordings of this on our website, so please check it out. Go to our social media at Dallas TRHT, and you can go to Twitter, Instagram, and we'll be sharing more of the events that we do there. We really appreciate having you all here. Thank you all, and we'll talk to you all soon.